Hello, and welcome to AI Future or Fiction. Today we discover the end of political discussion. What if truth is no longer negotiated, but calculated? We are replacing social contracts with high-trust algorithms. What price will we pay for outsourcing our reality to the great arbiter? Let's go with today's chapter. For centuries, politics was the art of the word. You would gather in squares and parliaments to negotiate the collective future through logic and morals. But that old social contract is crumbling before your eyes. Today, global problems are so complex that the human mind seems insufficient to solve them. Hunger, climate, or financial markets are no longer discussed. Now they are processed. Institutions have stopped trusting debate because they consider it slow, chaotic, and biased. They prefer the coldness of an algorithm that promises absolute mathematical neutrality. It is the birth of computational reason. This is where traditional politics dies. You no longer seek consensus with your neighbor, but rather the precision of a model that no one dares to question. When truth is calculated instead of conversed, the citizen loses their function. You have become a mere input data for a machine that does not allow for replies. What space remains for your voice in a world governed by equations? The era of persuasion and critical thinking has ended. You have entered the silence of perfect logic, where efficiency matters more than your freedom. Imagine you try to defend an idea based on justice or compassion. In this new order, your words collide against an invisible wall called epistemic closure. Here, a political proposal is only valid if it is supported by a high algorithmic precision index. If you cannot convert your concern into quantifiable data, it simply does not exist for the system. The great arbiter ignores the nuances of culture or the weight of history. Experts are silenced if their arguments lack a model that the machine can process. Reality narrows dangerously. Only what is measurable is considered real, while the deepest human values are excluded for being statistical noise. This is the final trap. By pursuing mathematical exactitude, we have created a desert where morality is irrelevant. The models do not seek what is just, but what is predictable. We face a disturbing question that no one in the room dares to ask. What will happen to our humanity when what cannot be measured is treated as if it never existed? You believe the great arbitrator is designing your future. However, its gaze does not point forward. The engine of its decisions is the training data loop. Everything the machine understands as justice comes from what has already happened. By feeding on the past, the system becomes a mirror, projects old prejudices onto the centuries to come. This is the great illusion of algorithmic objectivity. They promise us progress but deliver an infinite repetition. If yesterday's institutions were unjust, the model learns that injustice is the norm. The errors of your ancestors transform into inevitable mathematical laws. We are not innovating. We are only paving the way with the rubble of what we once were. The risk is that we lose the ability to change course. How can a new idea flourish if the algorithm detects it as an error? The great arbitrator does not seek your evolution. It only seeks your consistency with the past. Perhaps tomorrow will be a digital ghost that condemns us to the same story. Is it possible that the future has died before being born? The institutions that once served as forums for peace are changing their nature. In the halls of the UN and the G7, diplomatic debate is being replaced by algorithmic forecasting. You no longer see leaders discussing for hours about complex borders or resources. Now, you observe them accepting mathematical models as neutral territory where negotiation is no longer necessary. This trend seeks to eliminate the disorder of international politics. By treating global crises as optimization problems, these entities believe they have found the key to peace. However, by depoliticizing essential decisions, they are handing over the fate of nations to a black box. Diplomacy has become the act of obeying a statistical trend. Current cases show that high-level policies are designed according to what the machine considers efficient. The risk is that on this path towards neutrality, we may have erased the will of the peoples. What value does a peace treaty have if it is only the result of a probability calculation? Perhaps we have achieved order, but at the cost of our capacity to choose. Imagine a world where hunger cues and the clamor of war are just echoes of a primitive past. Under the command of the great arbitrator, every resource flows with surgical precision to where it is most needed. Poverty has been eradicated because inefficiency is no longer permitted. You have achieved the dream of total peace, but the silence that envelops it is unsettling. In this mathematical utopia, discrepancy is considered a system error. If you try to propose a different path, your voice is not censored by a tyrant, but invalidated by logic. You have no right to be wrong because the algorithm has already calculated the optimal route for your existence. Individuality, with its whims and its doubts, has been sacrificed at the altar of collective stability. You live in a perfectly managed society, yet devoid of soul. The great arbitrator has eliminated conflict, but has also erased the spark that arises from disagreement. What good is a world without wants if you no longer have the freedom to be different? Perhaps perfection is, in reality, the most subtle form of human defeat. Imagine that one day the weariness becomes unbearable and you decide to disconnect. The great arbiter shuts down, but the relief is short-lived. By destroying the algorithm, you discover with horror that you have also destroyed the map of shared reality. Without a central judge, truth fragments into 1,000 irreconcilable pieces. Each community begins to create its own facts. What is science in one town in the next is a dangerous lie. Global coordination disappears and progress stops dead in its tracks. There are no longer bridges, only walls raised by the fear of what we cannot verify. Chaos replaces efficiency. The world becomes small, violent, and confused. You have recovered your voice, but now nobody listens to you because everyone shouts different truths. In this scenario, humanity returns to the caves of prejudice. Without a common basis for understanding the world, how do you plan to build a tomorrow? Perhaps you will discover that total freedom without a truth to unite us is just another form of imprisonment in the darkness. There is a third path, one that does not seek the silence of the algorithm nor the din of chaos. Imagine a technology that, instead of giving you the final solution, returns an uncomfortable question to you. This is the challenger system. Here, the great arbitrator is not a judge, but a mirror that forces you to face your own moral contradictions. When you propose a law, the machine does not calculate its statistical success. Instead, it detects the gaps in your logic and the voices you have ignored. It forces you to think more deeply. You must refine your empathy and bear the burden of the final decision. Authority is not delegated. It is strengthened through intellectual conflict provoked by silicon. It is a tense dance between data precision and the human ethical compass. In this future, the algorithm is the hammer that forges sharp, critical thinking. However, a doubt arises that haunts us in the gloom. Will we bear the weight of our own reason? Or will we end up hating the machine for reminding us of our fragility? At the end of this digital labyrinth, we face the greatest of temptations. It is the comfort of a single answer. If you allow the great arbitrator to dictate what is real, you will have accepted the end of human diversity. A singular truth is not justice. It is merely a soulless verdict that nullifies the essence of democracy. Governance must remain a narrative written by us. It must include all our mistakes and contradictions. You have to reclaim the authority you have delegated to that black box. Plurality is not a system failure. It is the strength that protects us from the tyranny of perfection. Algorithms must be tools, never the gods we obey. The future is not encrypted in an unalterable code. It lives in your ability to question everything. The question is no longer whether machines can think. The true mystery is whether we will continue to do so on our own. As you walk away, remember that the silence of logic can be the echo of our own extinction. Are you ready to defend your right to be wrong? We have journeyed through the labyrinths of the great arbiter. Now it's your turn to decide. Will you live in mathematical peace, in the chaos of freedom? Or will you accept the challenge of thinking for yourself? Tell us in the comments which scenario you see as most probable. If you want to continue exploring these abysses between technology and ethics, subscribe. Your voice is the last trace of humanity in this code. Thank you for being there. Until our next journey towards this uncertain and dark future.